Hello, and welcome to today's program. My name is Mike Mann, and I am the Director of Alumni Programs at the Indiana University Alumni Association. Today's program is a conversation featuring two important people on the IUPUI campus. First, the interviewer, Rachel Zajac, serves as the J Club president, an alumni group of former collegiate athletes from IUPUI. She competed in cross country and track and field during her undergraduate career and has continued to stay involved in shaping athletic alumni events and serving the IUPUI campus. Rachel will be interviewing IUPUI women's basketball coach, Austin Parkinson, who just finished his 10th season at the helm of the IUPUI women's basketball program. He led the team to its first regular season conference title and conference tournament title. Parkinson was also named Horizon League Coach of the Year for the second time in the last 3 seasons. I would like to extend my thanks to each of them for taking the time to join us for this conversation about IUPUI women's basketball team. Now it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Rachel to get the conversation started.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Mike. And Austin, it is great to be able to be here with you today. So to go ahead and get things started, something that we would really like to know is really kind of back to the beginning of your coaching career. What drew you to, or your coaching career at IUPUI, what drew you to coaching here at IUPUI?
So ironically, I was a GA at the University of Indianapolis, and there was an opening at IUPUI that year, and it got filled on the men's side. I used to be coaching on the men's side. I went up to IPFW Fort Wayne for a year as the Dobo, and ironically, that same job opened up a year later, which usually doesn't happen on most coaching staffs. And so I applied to Ron Hunter, and wanted to be part of, George Hill. Was potentially going to come back and play that year. And so I was like, man, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to get Coach George Hill. Eventually he put his name in the draft, but, I was looking to get my foot in the door as a coach. And, I got an opportunity to work for Ron for 2 years, which was awesome. And then going into that third year, there was just some unique circumstances that took place within the women's basketball program where they needed a new coach about 4 days before the first practice. And, I'd spent all this time on the men's side working my way up, and I thought it'd be very hard to start, from the beginning on the women's side. And there was just a unique opportunity as far as timing. It was a lot of difficult things going on, and I was grateful they gave me a chance to step in and try to turn that culture around.
Well, that's fantastic, and we are so glad to be able to have you as a coach here at IUPUI and leading the charge for the women's basketball team. Of your coaching experience up to this point, what would you say is the hardest part about being a college coach?
I'd say the hardest part about being a college coach is managing so many different personalities, not just your players, but your coaches. You're trying to help your players grow as players on the court and off the court and help them reach their potential. But you also have a coaching staff where you're trying to get everybody on the same page, implementing the culture that we have in place, but then also helping them grow. And so managing those on a daily basis, because people learn differently, they communicate differently, they react to things differently, and finding that balance in all the different ways of finding those breakthroughs with the players and with the coaches so that they can reach their full potential.
I think that's an awesome thing to recognize about multiple players on a team, and not just beyond the players. It seems as if others have recognized that you are doing those pieces really well as a coach. You have been the Summit League Coach of the Year as well as the Horizon League Coach of the Year twice. How does that feel?
It's an amazing feeling. What I would say, it's more of a sense of pride probably that we were able to do it in 2 separate leagues and be recognized. But the reality is this: you only get those type of awards if you win, and you only win because of the players. Everything's about the players. I mean, I'm fortunate to get those plaques, but the reality is, we have players that bought into our system, sacrificed, competed, prepared, for those moments. And we were obviously able to achieve some things that, brought attention, to our program and maybe to me individually.
So I guess then, on the note of those players, recognizing that they do put a lot forward to help, recognition as their team, recognition for our schools, IUPUI. Last season, they won the league regular season and conference tournament, but unfortunately they weren't able to play in the NCAA tournament due to it being canceled because of COVID. So does that history create any extra motivation for this season for your coaching staff and for the returning athletes?
So I would say if this was a normal year, maybe that serves as a motivation of like, hey, we didn't get to complete the journey. Let's see if we can. But this year's just so strange and bizarre with the pandemic that you really don't know what to expect. We're flowing along nicely here. In the last, we were 8-1, and then all of a sudden we go into quarantine for, COVID, and you're sitting around for 10 days, and now you're trying to prepare for games. What we've always tried to do here is, we have goals of, winning whether it be the regular season or the postseason, championship. But we've never focused on that. We really try to spend focusing on, the process, focusing on each day, getting better and not getting ahead of ourselves. And probably more this year than any other year is every time we step on the court, we kind of talk about just being grateful for the opportunity to go play, that at any moment, at any day, that game may be taken out, the practice may be taken out. And unfortunately, because of COVID, there's so much isolation. Basketball is a team sport where you have connection. This isn't golf or tennis where maybe you're by yourself, you're together. And so because of the experience this year, you don't have that level of connection. So anytime we get a chance to be on the court together, competing together, we really, are grateful for those chances.
So in stints where you haven't been able to be on the court together and practicing together, when you're in kind of periods of quarantine, I'm really curious, how have the athletes been practicing? How have they been keeping their personal fitness up when they can't be, perhaps maybe with everyone? And also, what are some other things that they might be doing to be staying motivated right now, or ways you're encouraging them to stay motivated?
Yeah. So when we were in quarantine, there's really nothing that you can do. So, essentially it's 10 days of really not doing anything, which is very, very difficult. The way that we kind of come back from that, there's a return to play protocol. And so you kind of ease your way back into it. And probably the most difficult part of that is you lose a lot of your conditioning and a lot of the habits that maybe you'd been building up. So that presents a challenge. What we've also done is we've spent a lot of time on Zoom, watching video. We've probably done more video this year of our games and teaching from that way, but we've also done some different things. There's a thing called a Kahoot quiz, where it's kind of a fun interaction where we create a basketball type of quiz and they're able to participate in a way, and who answers first, and it kind of creates a little bit of a competition, but it also is good for us to coach as coaches because we get the results from that and we can kind of see, okay, what players are understanding these concepts, what players get it, and then what players are struggling. And it kind of at least allows us to kind of know where to go when we do get back out in the court.
That's awesome. And that's a really cool way to kind of switch it up and keep everyone engaged together via Zoom. Zoom seems like the new platform for everything at this point.
I think people are
creating
solutions and ready to be done with Zoom, but yes.
Yeah, I'm sure many people are at that point as well. Well, so with, the different work that you guys have been doing via Zoom and then via in-person practices and prepping, and getting really ready for this season's, the calendar, of course, has had to change in many ways, but you guys are playing games. Can you go ahead and give us an update on the season and maybe going back to how some practices are looking? I know you gave us a little bit of insight on that, and the first few games you've played this winter and how those maybe look different now.
Well, I'll back up even further to, we win the conference championship. We think we're going to the NCAA tournament. They canceled the tournament on a Thursday. We had a meeting Friday morning to kind of just try to share the experience and share the emotions of it. And then we actually dismissed our players. We did not see our players from that moment until roughly August 22nd. And so that's a massive gap of where you don't have a chance to work with your players. And so, a lot of the prep work this year was shortened. It was different. As we've got into the season, the players are testing 3 times a week. They have to get up at 6:30 in the morning, twice a week to go test. There's false positives, there's inconclusive tests. There's all these things that maybe the public doesn't quite, get a chance to see, but our kids have been incredibly resilient in that. Another area that's been different, we usually have practice players. So we have a practice players, a guy squad that's really nice for us. We can't have that this year. And so even the way that we conduct practice, my assistant coaches, normally they'd be right there in the mix, maybe with a pad being physical or demonstrating things. and they're not in there nearly as much because we've got to create that 6 feet of space. So practice looks entirely different. Our kids have done a great job of trying to make the most of the opportunities. And then, when you get a chance to get some extra shots up before and after practice, we really have had to take advantage of it. Now that we're into conference play, I think we're 6-2 in conference. It was unfortunate. We played a really good team coming off of the quarantine, but we feel confident in our team and our ability that if we can get ourselves to stay out of the quarantine the rest of the way somehow, fingers crossed, we can get ourselves playing at the level that we're capable of.
That's awesome. So as we then move forward into the season, what do you want us to be, what should we look for coming from the Jags?
Yeah, I mean, I think just, as we get to the conference tournament, looking to see, have we been able to avoid COVID? Because I think if we do that, we're going to have a chance to get our momentum and, be able to play the way that we're capable of playing. The interruptions, make it difficult. We've got, great kids. We've got, we're healthy. But the other part I would say is a challenge is the mental health aspect of it. There's areas that, the kids being isolated and having to make the sacrifices they've made. I know for them, this last part, we got about a month, month and a half left, they can see the finish line and they're really excited to, hopefully get into March and play and see, if we can, maybe do what we did last year.
What would the Horizon League women's basketball title mean to you as a coach and to the players who've obviously navigated such an interesting season up until this point this year?
Yeah, I think if we were able to win it this year, it'd be incredible with the adversity that we faced, as a team with all the interruptions. I mean, it would be truly special, but also, the positive going into it this year is that, we'd never won it before. And so there was, I think probably, uncertainty or a sense maybe of doubt of like, hey, can we really do this? And we know we can do it. We know, what it's going to look like during a tournament setting. And so our kids have at least that experience to build off of going this year. And, now it's just a matter of managing these, the uncertain times and the interruptions and how that, takes place. I know late in the season, Detroit in our league has opted out. And so we don't even know who our opponent will be for the last week of the regular season. What's that going to look like? And so managing those things and being able to handle it, I think will be key as we finish up.
Yeah. So, and you sort of mentioned that seems to kind of also play onto what you mentioned previously on like the mental health aspect of pieces. I'm sure the players have been doing a lot for their own wellness and mental wellness. Are there any things that, just as we kind of wrap up some of our conversation today, fans of the Jags could be able to implement while they're at home, while they're dealing with some mental wellness challenges and some of their own fitness?
Well, some of the things we've talked about, I mean, we've told our players, like, nobody is, I mean, obviously they want to play, they're excited to play, but nobody's obligated to play. If all of this is obviously too much and basketball becomes a burden, and the mental health side of it, like, basketball is great. We want to win games, but your mental health, your well-being as a human being is much more important to us as coaches. And, there's resources that the department provides and opportunities for them to be able to meet with, specific people. But as a coaching staff, we just continue to be encouraging and try to I'd say one of the things that's hard for a student athlete is they're very much about routine. When a student athlete leaves college and that routine's not there anymore, that's probably one of the biggest surprises. And so with changes, we were supposed to have to practice on a Sunday. Well, it's canceled because of this. We've got to move it to Monday night. All those changes are very tough with, trying to manage school and manage those expectations. And, we try to be as efficient as possible to try to keep the schedule as normal as we can to be consistent. And I would say my advice would just be, you've got to take time out for yourself every day and really just some quiet time. There's so much stuff going on in the world and social media. You've got to get some time to yourself. And then at least I try to reflect on the things I'm grateful for and my family and, the opportunities I've got to spend with them during this pandemic that maybe I wouldn't have in other areas. And so if that means watching film, while trying to, just, knock Barbies out of my lap, or having my little girl try to, do fake makeup on me. That's definitely been a change than the normal procedures, but it's also been, enjoyable in that way.
That is fantastic. And I can't imagine the agility that the mental agility that the players would have to just be picking up right now. And as things change so rapidly down to just the moment that they can practice, and that getting canceled last minute and shifting to the next day and rearranging schedules to make that work. So what they are up against this season is, incredible that they are working through it and staying strong through it. And I think it's great that as a staff, you guys are also focusing on ensuring that their mental health is kept up. And that's very true, that there are just so many pieces throughout what's gone on in the past year, where we've lost certain experiences and certain routines, but we have found new opportunities, like time with family, that we maybe didn't have the opportunity to have before. So that can always be a nice boost to the mental health, to focus on the positives that we can find. But thank you so much, Coach Parkinson, for your time today, for this outlook on the season. And we are so excited to be able to root for the Jags and to be able to have them playing this season. So thank you so much for your time, and we will be here cheering.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you having me, shining a light on our program. And we take a lot of pride in the fact that, we're grateful for what IUPUI provides, and being able to shine a light on our university. I mean, our kids are excited to see IUPUI being recognized more and more. And we're grateful for you guys even doing this with us.